Welcome to Chaos Divided, your weekly dose of WholesomeHammer, where we explore the hobby, the game, and the lore of Warhammer 40k. We're your hosts, Nurgle Snurgle and BlushingNoiseMarine. This week, we're joined by our special guest, Mike from Watch It, Paint It, and we're chatting with him about his hobby craft, his love of AdMech, and his appreciation for classic sci-fi. So this week's quote, Mike actually picked it out, and he's going to read it off himself.
People don't normally get to pick their own quotes.
No.
Well, you're our second guest, and we didn't let Tyler pick one.
You may set a trend.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Imagine, if you can, a small room, hexagonal in shape, like the cell of a bee. It is lighted neither by window nor by lamp, yet it is filled with a soft radiance. There are no apertures for ventilation, yet the air is fresh. There are no musical instruments, and yet, at the moment that my meditation opens, this room is throbbing with melodious sounds. An armchair is in the center, and by its side, a reading desk. That is all the furniture. And in the armchair, there sits a swaddled lump of flesh. So that is the first paragraph of The Machine Stops. It was written in 1909, before computers were invented, long before the internet. But the author imagined a world, I think it was during the agricultural revolution, when machines started to do a lot of farming. So he pictured a world where, humans were so dependent on machines they couldn't separate themselves. And there would come a point where they would worship the machine as a god.
Interesting, the machine god.
Yeah, machine god.
Was this like the first written type of depiction of this type of
I'm
idea?
not sure. It's 1909, and he was imagining not computers, but he said people would never leave their rooms. They would just talk to each other over a screen. You could see the other person's image, projected in front of you.
Like we're doing right now.
Exactly like we're doing that. He basically predicted gamer geeks, Yeah. So it was really interesting when you read it and you think of the context in which he wrote that. It's almost prophetic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would have been before even broadcast radio, let alone television.
Yeah, not a lot of homes would have had electricity at the time. Electricity was invented years before that, but it's, if you're living in the Maritimes, some people didn't have electricity in the house, or flush toilets.
Oh, yeah.
I think you've set the tone for our conversation, and I'm excited to hear more. But to get us started, would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners?
Sure, yeah. My name is Mike, and I'm one half of the YouTube channel Watch It, Paint It, where we paint all kinds of miniatures and post it on YouTube and just, give tips. Not always useful, but we try to be useful. Started off with board games. So my partner is Ben. He actually lives in the UK, and we've never met, but we talk all the time on Discord. And we just noticed each other's channels early on. I originally had the channel Heroes and Bosses, and then we just decided to collaborate. His channel was bigger than mine, so I left my channel, went to his. And then one day we both just sort of gravitated towards Games Workshop miniatures. We both had tried painting them and it was more fun to paint those than the resin miniatures. It's just there's fewer flaws, and the paint just seemed to go on better. I don't know, everything about them. It's just I just enjoyed painting them. So
yeah, is it the plastic itself that you really enjoyed?
I think
the amount of detail?
It's smoother. And when you glue the pieces together, it's I don't know, it looks so much better. So
were you guys familiar with Warhammer before?
We had
getting into
heard of it, didn't know anything about it.
Interesting.
My first introduction was Blood Bowl. I had a friend, actually a neighbor, who had Blood Bowl, and he's like, "Do you want to try this with me?" I was like, "Okay." So I went out and bought Blood Bowl, and I just love painting it. I was like, "Man, are there other games that use these miniatures? I'd love to use these for something else."
Well, about that.
Yeah, so I had no idea. I had no idea there was a bigger world out there for Warhammer. And my first trip to Games Workshop was all you sell is this one game? Yeah.
How is this a business model?
Yeah. It's surprising when you walk in. It's like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And people buy this. It's like, okay.
I think
it
now
is
you see why.
buried in plastic.
It starts making a little more sense when you see the price tags.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have few customers, but they pay through the nose.
I remember my first Games Workshop visit. I thought it was going to be video games. I thought it was going to be like a GameStop.
Did you? Okay.
And then I was like, oh, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife, Brenna, has a funny story about going in too, where she was just looking for board games. She's like, ooh, a board game store. And they're like, well, we have Fantasy Warhammer and Sci-fi Warhammer. Which kind do you want?
Catan. I'm sure they get that all the time.
Oh, probably, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's what, so you came to Warhammer through the hobby, like, with no real background at all.
None. Yeah, I didn't know anything about the lore. All I knew was, like, I liked painting these miniatures. So, and I bought the kill team, the AdMech kill team, not knowing anything about the AdMech. It was the newest one that came out, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'll buy that, and I'll paint it up, put it on the channel, and, you know, maybe some people will watch it. And then years went by, didn't paint it. Just sat under the couch. Oh. And then I think one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to dig these out and take a look at them. And then I read the lore, and I was like, oh my God, they're from Mars. They're cyborgs? They worship a machine god? It's like, holy crap. Anyway, I had to paint them immediately. It's like, and learn more about them. Yeah.
The quote that you shared with us, had you read that before getting into AdMech?
Oh, yeah. I read that many years ago.
Okay.
30 years ago. Yeah. I think probably grade 12. My English teacher gave us a bunch of short stories, and that was one of them. And it just resonated with me, and I loved it. Yeah, but I mean, I love it more now. Reading when you're a kid, you're like, oh, that's kind of neat. But, you know, as an adult, you're like, wow, this guy really, you know, kind of hit the nail on the head with his, you know, predictions.
And then now you're in a path with Warhammer and AdMech, and
yes, and now I'm just following the natural path towards the machine god.
You're becoming one with the Omnissiah.
Yes. Yeah.
So where do you find, I guess, what does your little corner of the Warhammer community look like? Like, where's your joy? Where does your, like, because you create content, you play the game, you read the lore. Like, there's a lot that goes into being a fan of Warhammer. Kind of, what does your little corner of it look like?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know a lot about the lore still. I watch a lot of YouTube videos where people explain, you know, the lore behind things, but I always want more. I was like, yeah, but how did they invent these things, and how do the engines work, and like I want to know, like, how do they terraform Mars? That was my big thing. It's like, okay, they live on Mars. Let's read about how they terraform Mars in Warhammer 40K, and there wasn't that there. It's more of like the world has already been created, and you're just kind of thrown into it, and it's like, well, you don't need to know that. This is just the way the world is now. It's like, okay, but I like, you know, learning about, I guess, how things got that way. Like, I want more details about that. But it's for me, it's mostly the painting. Like, I love painting miniatures. I think I'm one of the few people that does not like building them. I don't know. Do you guys like building miniatures?
I actually do.
Yeah? Okay.
That is like my favorite, but like I am a terrible painter. You have seen my miniatures. They are a 3 out of 10 at best. But actually building the models is one of my favorite parts.
Okay. Yeah. It seems like most people either love building them or love painting them. And if they could just come built. I mean, I would build them myself. Because I wouldn't, you know, when you put it together, you kind of get an idea of where everything is. Like, you're going to become very familiar with the details before you paint it. But it's a pain in the butt. Yeah, I just want to get down to painting. So, but yeah,
do you still build them?
Oh, I build them. Yeah, but it takes forever because I'm very, the word is neurotic. I have to make sure there's no mold lines, and I have to make sure there's no gaps. And I'll spend, hours sanding and filing and making sure everything's perfect. And then, that's I think probably why I don't like it. Takes so long for me to do it.
Did you build the Leviathan box?
Let's see. Yeah, I did. I built the entire Space Marines part, and I built some of the Tyranids. Yeah.
I found them kind of difficult, like the push fit, and if they weren't like completely flush, I found that problematic.
I cut the posts. I cut the tips off the posts before I squeeze them together because they're always a little too long. I heard about that tip
after.
Yeah. I learned the hard way too. I can't remember what it was. It might have been Blood Bowl. I think they were pushed to fit, or no, it wasn't. Blackstone Fortress. Yeah. I was trying to push those together. I was like, why won't these go all the way together? And just started.
Do you have any tips for like filling in the gaps?
I kind of do like sprue goo, but I'll mix it up on the spot. So just take plastic shavings and mix them with the plastic glue and then brush it on. Or I'll just take like the needle of the Citadel glue and I will just make a line right down the seam and then wait till that like dries, and then I'll just sand that. So
that's a great tip.
Yeah. But Milliput's good. Green stuff. I use those too. Depends on how big the gap is, but Games Workshop, they're pretty good. Like you rarely need, anything else than just the plastic glue. Yeah. Sprue goo seems to be the way everybody's going right now. They're just getting a half-empty bottle of the paint or the glue, mixing in all your shavings, and then you just make a plastic goo.
And do you still use the needle, or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. I know people love the Tamiya brush. I hate it. I love that little needle.
Yeah, that's probably like a back and forth I hear in this hobby is like people love that brush or they like the needle. So.
I actually like the Games Workshop pots. I don't like dropper bottles.
Hot take.
Do a lot of dry brushing, and it's a pain in the butt with a dropper bottle. So. Yeah.
Is that like the only reason, or?
Well, yeah.
It's just dry brushing.
I've also had a lot of spills with the dropper bottles. Like you squeezing it, like why won't the paint come out? And the end just pops off. And all the paint goes everywhere. I've done that so many times. I'm like, maybe if I just squeeze a little harder, then boop, everything comes out.
Nobody talks about that.
It happens to me all the time.
They like to just make it a meme, I guess, by now that Citadel pots are the worst. But I kind of agree as well. Like, I kind of like having like the little lip there just to like dab my brush in when I need to.
Yeah. And if I'm painting metallics, I don't thin it down. I just take it right out of the pot. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I saw your tip is you mix it with contrast.
Oh yeah. I'll do that too. Yeah. If I'm painting something big, I'll mix it with contrast or speed paint, and then it goes on a lot smoother. Yeah.
Do you have a preferred company you like to use the paints from?
Well, I get sponsored by both GW and Army Painter, so I like them equally well.
They are 50-50 on the table.
Hard to say. I do like, they're so different. I think it's hard to compare them. I probably use Games Workshop paints more. For metallics, I actually prefer Army Painter, but for pretty much everything else, I like Games Workshop. It just, I don't know, you get better coverage, I find. So my Army Painter paints, they're a lot cheaper. I'll use those for terrain. Yeah, just because it's like, you're saving a lot of money by using the Army Painter stuff. So if I'm painting something big, Army Painter. If it's like fine details, then I'm going to go with Vallejo or Games Workshop or something like that.
And saving money is the best tips. To share.
We're already spending enough, right? So.
Yep.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit of Watch It Paint It, but I guess coming into Warhammer already kind of, I guess, presenting it for an audience, how does it differ when you're painting for yourself versus for the channel?
I really like painting for myself, and I actually do it quite a bit differently. So I go back and forth a lot. If I'm painting for the channel, I will paint one color to completion, and I'll usually go step by step. So it's like, okay, let's put on our base colors, and then we'll do, you know, our shading, and then we'll do our highlighting. But if I'm just painting by myself, it's like, I feel like painting red today. So I'll just grab a bunch of miniatures and paint red on all of them. You know, red should go here, red should go there. And then it's like, okay, I'm done. You know, and then the next day it's like, I guess I'll dry brush something. And, you know, I'll just grab a bunch of miniatures that need that one color. Yeah, I paint very differently for myself. I'm all over the place. I've got like a huge amount of partially painted miniatures on my desk, ready for the next color.
and you're okay with that? Like, it doesn't seem to like affect you. Like, that's how you like to hobby. And
yeah, I guess. I mean, they'll all get done eventually, right? Isn't that how it works?
Well, then you just buy more.
Yeah, or I'll just, you know, hide them at the back of the shelf, put a box in front of them, and no, pretend they're not there. Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess, like, how have you kind of evolved the way you paint? Like you talked about, like, doing the bulk painting for yourself. Like, is there kind of like a special, like, if you're trying to do something that like really you really care about, like, is there like anything special you do to kind of make something feel a little more special?
I always do a custom base on something. I want it to be in a specific setting. So I try to think of like a place where I want it to be first. And then what kind of things will be around, what kind of plants, what kind of wreckage, or, you know, craters. So I usually will, I'll think of a terrain for a specific army, and then I'll try to find a gaming mat that will match that. So when I put them on the mat, they'll look cool. Yeah, so it's mostly about,
cool.
Will it look cool? You know, that's kind of like my game plan for creating my army too. It's like, what looks cool? I don't want to know what's good. Just tell me what looks cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's basing it. Yeah, I find the custom base really sets it apart. And yeah, it's I really do. I take my time, and I never try to rush it. But there does come a point, you know, after 10, 20 hours, just like, you know what, you are done enough. And it's just, yeah, put on a varnish and that's it. But yeah, it's definitely the basing. I love creating cool custom bases. Yeah.
So do you go to a mini with a huge plan, or do you just go, this is the base, and you just kind of play around as you go?
I always create a plan first. Yeah, I don't like improvising. Not very good at it. So I like to, kind of think of a theme first, and then I will actually cut all the pieces out and rearrange them, and then try to decide where everything's going to go, and then I'll start gluing stuff together and, you know, reshaping things. So yeah, I always plan. Yeah, I don't trust
even the color choice.
Colors are planned too. Yep. Yeah, I get out the color wheel, old school, and just like, this will go with this, and yeah. I mean, there's a reason my AdMech eyes and plasma glow is green, because it looks nice to red. So yeah.
I mean, that is the contrast in color.
Yeah. So
I mean, probably a lot of hobbyists could benefit from like actually using a color wheel just to like assist them in understanding how colors work together. Like, color theory is, weirdly enough, I don't see a lot of hobbyists talking about it. You don't see it a lot like in videos, but it's like a huge component of bringing these colors. Like, I know people are using it, but they don't talk about it directly.
Yeah, I think maybe they don't talk about like the reason why. They'll be like, here's the wheel, and then people are just like, okay, but why? Like how you questioned about the Mars, but why? But why?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not. It's just like Oh, go ahead.
It's funny with like color theory and just like how your eyes appeal to different colors and how it interacts.
Yeah, and you'll see specific painters using the same colors over and over. Like if I'm scrolling through Instagram, I can just tell who the painter is before I look at it. Like there's people prefer certain, you know, colors and shades, and that's I'm the same way. I use.
What's your preferred?
Reds, blacks, and silver. I use a lot of that, and then there has to be some kind of neon, something neon in there, like a neon orange or green or blue or something. Yeah. So yeah,
because I've seen like about 2 of your models now, and not only like the color is unique to you, but also like the texture and the tone that you've put onto the models. It's definitely like I can spot it. Like I saw your Lyle L. Johnson at the GT.
All
Evan
right.
has it, and I knew because I've seen the demon prints, and I knew that you had that. That was yours.
Okay. I know I look at my style. I'm like, why does it look like this? Like I'm trying to do something else when I paint. I want it to look more grimdark, but it always comes out just super bright and colorful. I'm like, that's just the way it's going to be, I guess. Yeah.
That's what my hands are doing.
Yeah, I always have something slightly different in mind, and then when I paint it, it's like, oh, well, that's what you are, I guess. It's yeah. Yeah.
How would you define your style?
Oh man. When I first started painting, I watched a lot of Sarastro. I don't know if you know who that is. He's a YouTuber who paints mostly Marvel and Star Wars. But he started off with Zombicide and a lot of other Kickstarter board games. He's only ever painted one Games Workshop model, and I think that was just so many people begging him to do it. But he's resisting. If he ever decided to go pure Games Workshop, I'm sure his channel would just go through the stratosphere. But yeah, it's a lot of. I don't do a lot of washes anymore. It's mainly like I'll start off with a dark color and I'll build it up, and then it's I think that's probably why it's so bright. Nothing ever gets shaded down. It's always just start with a dark version of the color I want and build up to the color that I want it to be. So, yeah.
What was the reason to stop washing?
The washes I found look messy. Yeah, and you always had to clean up after. You put the wash on, it's like, well, now it looks dirty, and then I have to clean it up. Now I gotta
highlight again.
Yeah, so now I'll just mix a dark color into, like if I'm painting red, I'll mix like a deep like gray into the red, paint that on as a base coat, and then I will start highlighting up to the actual red I want. I don't know. It looks cleaner in the end, I think. Looks smoother. But the washes definitely speed things up. Like if you want it on the table fast, go with washes. Yeah. Go with speed paints.
Especially Necrons. Get that stuff silver, oil, you're good to go.
Yeah. Oh, there's some things where it works great for, but if you're doing skin and fabric, washes don't really do a great job on that, I don't think. It's better to build up from a dark base tone and then highlight up to, the colors you want.
That's a great insight, because a lot of people just think that they have to go base coat and then they wash it and then they highlight it. But it definitely depends on how you want to take the approach. And I have also found that washes kind of give it like a stained look. Yeah. Like a coffee stain. And sometimes that's not the effect you're looking for.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I've been using a lot of sponging lately. That's like my new cheat method. Just get a sponge and dab the colors on. Yeah. It's fast, and it kind of looks like you highlighted it that way on purpose. Yeah.
Very effective.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I like how you, and every one of your videos, when you talk about like speed painting or like a cheat method, and then it's always like the most beautiful model I've ever seen, as if you haven't put like so much care and attention. It's like, I love what you mean by cheat.
Yeah, even my speed painting is very slow, I think, to most people. Yeah, speed painting me is like, I did this in under 10 hours. That's pretty darn fast.
I don't know how people do like these 24-hour armies. Like
me either. I'm just like, it's astounded. Like, how did you do that?
And still have your sanity.
You paint Necrons. That's how you do it.
Just paint Necrons. Yeah. Spray paint them all silver. Done.
Like, I don't think I've ever heard a guard player say they painted an army in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or any Chaos Space Marine.
Oh my god. Yeah. Forget it.
The trim.
I know.
All that trim.
All
And I'm
that
so
trim.
bad at all
Yourself.
of it.
Yeah.
I have a rule with my Terminators that when the spiky bits fall off, they don't go back on because I'm tired of, like, I've gotten them under my fingernail enough times at this point that I don't want them in there anymore.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Chaos is a nightmare.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have like a little box of just broken Plague Bearer arms. I call it my graveyard.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know you started more so from the painting side of things, but I know you've been playing a lot more, and now we're into 10th. How are you finding things?
I finally feel like I'm almost on even footing with people. Nobody knows what the heck's going on. You know, I was playing a game the other day and someone told me a rule and it's like, that's the rule now? And then after the game was over, I asked about it and they're like, no, that's not the rule. It's like nobody knows what's going on, you know? You know, it's, and it's nice. I'm not the only one anymore, you know?
It's like that Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other. It's like, do you know the rules? No. Do you know the rules? No.
Yeah, it's cool though. It's nice being there at the beginning, I guess. Like I bought the 8th edition AdMech book. And then a month later, the 9th edition book came out. It's like,
no.
How often do these things come out? Like, is it every year, every month? What's going on here? Anyway, so, you know, I didn't play 8th. And of course, that's why I bought all my robots. The robots were supposed to be really powerful in 8th. And and then I started painting them, and then 9th came along, and it's like, robots are terrible. No one uses those. It's like, well, I already bought them. I'm painting them, and I'm using them. I'm using them. Damn it! Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, it's interesting. They've streamlined the rules, like not a lot, but you know, enough that it's easier for new players to get into it. The data sheets they cleaned up. They look a lot better, I think. Like. They could still do a little more with those to make them easier to read. But like if something has 2 of a weapon, it should say right next to the weapon, ×2 or something. Like there should be a way to know exactly how many attacks you have without cross-referencing. That was something you had to do in 9th all the time. It's like, okay, I have this gun. Well, how many of those do I have? And how many attacks do I actually get? You know, you're constantly looking around to see what's equipped on the thing and, you know. Yeah, 10th solved a lot of that. So I'm liking it. I'm liking it so far. What about you guys?
How many games have you played?
Only 2.
Okay.
Only 2 so far. But AdMech have been victorious both times. So I don't know. They might be the, you know, the underdog everyone wasn't expecting to just, you know, come on top. We'll see. Probably not.
Yeah, you were sharing that you're going robots.
Yeah. Robots and the Warglaves help, for sure. Everything in my army got slower. It's like, I need something that can move faster than 6 inches. Everything is so slow. Yeah.
I hear you there.
Can you, like, teleport them anywhere? Or do you have any strats? Oh,
no.
Goodness.
They did in 9th.
Any scouting? Any, like, deep striking?
There is one unit that can scout. So it's called scout when you can like place them anywhere on the board at the beginning.
To infiltrate, yeah.
Infiltrate, yeah. I have one unit that can infiltrate, and it's a lousy unit, so I don't take it. And as for scouting, yeah, the cavalry, they can do like a 9-inch scout, like pre-game move. But again, they lost all their cool abilities, so they want to take those. So nothing can teleport. Yeah, nothing's got deep strike. So it's just, I'm just walking. Everything's slowly walking up the board.
So what's their gameplay now? Still like mass amount of shots and hope something sticks?
That's the way a lot of people are still playing them, but the way I play, it's mostly melee. Believe it or not, AdMech aren't known for good melee, but they are very tough now. So the Cataphrons have decent shooting. They're the only thing in the army that gets rerolls. Only if they're next to Skitara units. Like they have to be next to Rangers or Vanguard. Otherwise, they can reroll ones. Sorry, but they get full rerolls if the Vanguard are next to them. So I take one unit of Vanguard so they can sit next to the Cataphrons. I was like, you just sit there and give them rerolls. That's all you do. Yeah. But they're just they're mostly melee for me. So I don't know. I haven't seen anyone play an army like I'm playing it, like an AdMech army. So we'll see. We'll see how it does.
We don't see many people play AdMech at all.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it. They're from Mars. Come on, people.
Super cool.
Yeah.
I know, like they're a newer faction overall. Yeah. But like at this point, we're 4 editions in. I don't know exactly when they came out. So, yeah, that's not really as much of a reason anymore.
Yeah. I guess if you're a new player, you might pick them up. But I think so many people are invested in the Space Marines that it's, that's what they're comfortable with. That's what they've already stockpiled. So that's what they're going to go with.
When they're really hot and powerful.
Yeah. Well, I bet a lot of people bought AdMech when they first released that codex. Was it 9th? Mm-hmm. Was it 9th where they're like insanely powerful and they were dominating tournaments and like they heavily nerfed them? Yeah, they were one of the first codexes to come out, and it was the first bit of power creep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The first step to it.
The first step, yeah. It's like, oh, a little too powerful, I see. Well, we'll make the next one just a little more powerful than that. Yeah. Rather than calling them back.
And then when it came to Nurgle or Chaos Demons, it's like, cut that.
Yeah.
Cut the
We've
power.
gone too far. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like
someone's got to suck.
Yeah.
The 9th edition codex for Chaos Space Marines was the considered the most balanced codex on release, which just meant that it didn't have all the power creep everyone else had. So
everyone just kind of like put that aside.
Yeah.
It's like it's a great codex,
it doesn't
balanced. Just disrupt the game.
And then Votan got announced, and everyone's like, "Oh no,
I know,
nerf that!" And then,
did they ever? I heard the Votan are not great right now.
That is said, but Votan came in 14th at RGT, so he did really well.
Out of 50, or how many?
Out of 34.
34?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, still that's decent.
50%. So
yeah. And how'd the AdMech do?
I don't know if there was an AdMech.
There was no AdMech?
There was an AdMech player who didn't show, so we didn't get to see. I was actually hoping to see like how AdMech would, and because I know the person who was going to play them are quite good with them too. So I was curious to see how it would actually kind of play out.
Yeah, I'd love to see a more experienced player play them and see how they do. Once my army's fully painted, I'll be at the grand tournament.
I was just about to say, you're going to have to fill that role.
Yeah, I'll be the AdMech guy.
Mike's coming. AdMech is coming.
Yeah. It's fun. Well, but people don't know how the AdMech play. They've never played them before, so they're like, what can your guys do? It's interesting. Yeah. Everyone knows how the Space Marines play. But you bring a weird army, like the Sisters or the AdMech, and everyone's like, so what can they do? Yeah, so.
Shoot beltas and roll miracle dice.
That's right. Miracles and lasers.
What is the gameplay for AdMech?
You're asking the wrong guy, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
But if you want to know how I play, it's they're super tanky now. Like my robots can have a toughness 10. And they have 7 wounds each. Like each one is like as tough as a knight. So I've got 4 of these things per group, and they're just slowly marching their way up the battlefield. And once they're on an objective, wounds? I've never had anyone shoot them off an objective.
How many wounds?
7. 7 wounds, toughness 10. Yeah, but you can adjust like their battle protocols, so I can switch it up so they can be 2 extra ranged attacks per gun, or I can do 2 extra melee attacks on their melee weapons, or I can do +1 toughness. So they're normally toughness 9, but you can fudge the numbers depending on what you want to do. I usually just put them at toughness 10 and sit them on an objective. That's just where they stay. So
Was there OC?
it's only 2. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
they're not great, but I mean, you're
That's
not getting
still
anywhere
8
near
on
them.
the-
If you get into melee
Yeah.
range, they'll punch you into oblivion. They
Good.
they hit like a truck. Yeah, they have a strength of 12. So like when I do the the tank buster move, what's that called?
Strength 12.
Yeah. So they're rolling 14d6 mortal wounds, right? It's just boom.
What?
Yeah. Well, you roll, if your strength is higher than the toughness of the thing you're running into, you roll 2 extra d6. So 12 plus 2, 14d6, and 4 ups are mortals. So they just...
It's 5 ups. It's 5 ups, but...
It's 5 ups?
Yeah.
Either
Oh, okay.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what the little Hellbrute, it's, you get 16 because it's strength 14.
Okay.
So it's a little, like, 150 point, like, dreadnought thing that, like, hits like a freight train if you tank shock it.
Yeah,
no,
tank shock.
is...
1 command point. It's like, boom! You're pretty much guaranteed 6 mortal wounds. You know?
And it happens in the charge phase, so it's one of those nice, like, it doesn't interact with, like, any shooting phase, fight phase, like, rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
tank
someone
shock
like
people
puts
and
on
they
like
just
a
disappear,
field mobile.
You know? I don't even get my melee attack. It's just like, tank shock gone. All right. Yeah. It's,
moving on now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm playing the wrong army.
Let's see. They're interesting.
You need a defiler. I think that's a vehicle.
Me?
Yeah. That would be able to tank shock.
You know what? I faced one last week, and it was really great in melee. The shooting was terrible.
Well, it's not. It's got like a big lobster claw. I don't think it's meant to be. Like, I know it has a gun, but I don't think that's what it's intended for.
Oh, that's what that thing's called. Yeah.
Yeah, like the
one
big.
Of those too. Yeah.
It's like one of those like ancient kits that have been around forever and don't make sense with like any.
It's like everyone has a defiler in their closet.
Yeah. It is a weird thing. It's just like, what is that? Yeah, it looks like a giant crab. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a mechanical crab.
It's creepy. Some people love them, and some people just, ugh.
Yeah.
They're just...
I don't know.
We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but you've have the opportunity to paint some miniatures for GW, so you get to paint across many factions. How do you kind of find the theme, make the plan for all these different factions?
That I will usually do a Google search. If it's a faction I'm not familiar with and I don't know the colors, it's like, well, let's go see what other people are doing with these things. I'll pick the colors myself, like the specific paints that I'm going to use, and I usually try to like make it a little different. I'm going to put. You can always vary things up with hazard stripes. Just throw those on somewhere, right? But I like to, I will change the tints of things as well. I don't like using pure whites or pure blacks. I just don't like the way they look. So Celestra Gray is the whitest I will go on a miniature, even for highlights. So it's, I guess it's more muted, but I like to just do some research on that faction or a faction that looks cool. I picked Iron Hands for a couple of the miniatures I did for Games Workshop, just because they were closely associated with the AdMech. I was like, well, then it makes sense that I would paint Iron Hands. So, and I already have all the colors, so they're going to be the same colors as my AdMech. But yeah, I have to do research for sure. Like I said, I'm not super familiar with the lore. I always like to see what other people have done and, just, I guess, paint it in my style with their colors. Yeah.
So you're never required to do box art?
No, I don't think I'm qualified for box art, but I've been on the Warhammer Community page a couple times.
Oh.
But they don't give you any direction. They're just like, paint this any way you want. And if it's good enough, we'll put it on the page. It's like, all right. So, yeah.
Oh, that last line is just like,
they don't
no
say
pressure.
that. They imply that, but they don't say it. They're like, we're going to send you this early, and if you get it painted by this date, send us the pictures, and maybe we'll do something with it. It's like, okay. Yeah.
Do they give you a reasonable time frame to get it done?
Like I had Leviathan a month before it went up for pre-sale.
Okay.
So plenty of time to get stuff painted and built. Like they send it out so people can do battle reports, like have it built and painted, and then do a battle report, by the time the NDA is up. So yeah, they always send it like with plenty of time. Yeah. So
how does it feel to be on when you get picked for Warhammer Community?
Amazing. Yeah. The first one, I was totally like doing the humble brag. I was like, hey, check this out. They picked one of my miniatures to be on their website. It's pretty cool, eh? What do you think? Anyway, but then the second time, like Cody told me, I had no idea they put my Farsight on there. And Cody sent me the link. He's like, you're on the website. It's like, oh my God, awesome. Yeah. But it feels great.
Which one was your first miniature?
The first one was, what was it called? The Brutalis Dreadnought.
Ah,
the big
yes.
claws. Yeah. So I painted it with an Iron Hands theme. I think it's because no one else painted Iron Hands. Because they had a ton of different paint schemes. Like, this is the only Iron Hands paint job. So on it goes,
Amazing.
Yeah. So I did put a lot of time and effort into it. Made, a custom base and, it took a while to paint, but I don't think it was as good as the other ones. Looking at the other paint jobs, like, holy crap, you guys like went all out. So, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the demon prints that I got from you, I think you referred to as a quick slap job, that you hadn't put a ton of time into, and it's like one of the most beautiful miniatures I've ever seen. So I don't know if you're a reliable judge of the quality of your work.
Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah. Well, when I say quick, it probably took me 10 hours, but it's so big, it probably should have taken more. And I don't think I did a custom base on that one, did I? Like, I think I glued him right to the plastic.
Yeah, he's just got some rocks and
that's why it was speed
stuff.
Paint. It's no custom base.
It starts with the base.
Yeah, I was like, what am I do with this guy? Like, I just want to get him painted, So I did have a deadline for that video. I wanted to get it done in a reasonable time and get it uploaded, before everyone else had a video about it. So, yeah. And I painted the wrong one. I thought I was painting. Who's that other big demon prince?
Angron?
Angron. I thought I was painting Angron. When I painted that demon prince, like, this is Angron, and I painted him up and I put him on YouTube. I was like, wait a minute. There's already videos about this guy from like years ago. Like, what's going on here? And then I realized it wasn't Angron. And it's like, I am not doing that again.
Are you thinking Bellicor? I think you're thinking Bellicor.
No, it was Angron. Yeah.
Oh.
Like, I thought I was painting Angron.
Because Angron came out this year?
Yeah.
Early this
year? Yeah, but the new Demon Prince also did.
Yeah, they sent me the Demon Prince, and then shortly after Angron arrived, I'm like, well, what did I just paint? What was that thing?
What's in my house?
Yeah, I was like, that wasn't Angron?
Were you calling him Angron that entire time?
I don't know if I called him Angron in the video. I hope not. I think by the time I put the video out, I knew. Like, I think Angron arrived in the mail as I was making the video. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah. Yeah, anyway.
Have you painted Angron?
No. I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it again. It's like, I just painted one of these things. I'm not doing it again. Yeah. So I was like, it wasn't even for me. I was like, I don't play Chaos. So, yeah. Anyway, that was him.
So are you waiting for like the AdMech box to come out?
Is there a new AdMech box coming out?
No, I don't know. Well,
they did say every faction that gets a codex in this, that they've announced gets a new model, and AdMech is on the list.
Oh man, what do you think it's going to be?
What do you think it's going to be?
I don't know.
What do you want it to be?
What do I want it to be? Like the Fabricator General? Is that a guy? Like, tell me about who else is on Mars that has not been represented as a miniature yet?
Oh, there's all kinds of AdMech stuff in like the books.
Yeah.
Like they have all kinds of like big walkers and like
oh man.
Like there's all kinds of, because like, well, the AdMech also like maintain the knights. That's kind of like so like they have things that can also blow up knights that are on that like caliber.
Okay. I would be happy with anything really, as long as it doesn't. Well, I wouldn't want a flying unit. I don't use a lot of flying units. And
AdMech have the coolest. They have the little ornithopter thing.
Oh, and those, the Stratocopters or Strata. Yeah, I don't know what they're called because I don't use them.
You're not a fan?
The
Strider Raptor.
Archaeocopter or whatever it's
Yeah,
called.
yeah. No, I wasn't a fan of those.
That's like straight out of Dune. That's like...
Well, sort of. Yeah, sort of. You're right. Yeah. Because they did have the... oh man, I'm blanking on the name of them. What were the name of the flyers that they used on Arrakis?
The ornithopters.
Ornithopters, yeah.
Yeah.
With the flapping wings and everything. You're right.
Yeah.
I never thought at all. You know what? I like them now.
You're gonna see with the GT.
Yeah, I went from hating them to loving them. Yep, I'm gonna go buy some of those right now.
Yeah, like AdMech is super inspired by Dune.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's like I thought it was more like Da Vinci. Like, are they trying to like copy Da Vinci's early schematics? Like when he drew his first flying machines that could never possibly fly.
I can see that too.
Yeah, I didn't know where they got their inspiration. Yeah, I mean they're
solved.
They're cool looking, but not the way I imagined them looking. It's like there's no air on Mars. How are they flying with wings?
Well, I think Mars in 40K has been terraformed.
It has.
So
haven't they let it like kind of degrade, and there has to be enough air that they don't die when they go outside. You're right, because exposed flesh.
It's like they terraformed it and then like immediately polluted it. So it's like they're like, oh, we're gonna make this into like a livable space, and then we're just like gonna fill it with factories, just absolute to the brim factories.
That might actually be a good thing for Mars. The more greenhouse gases, the better. Yeah, it's a cold place. Come on, it needs more.
And 40K, I don't think it's cold. I think it's pretty smog filled.
Yeah, but... I couldn't find any. I couldn't find any statistics on Mars. Like, what is the temperature on Mars now? And like, what is the atmospheric pressure? And what's the atmospheric composition?
AdMech get a lot of There's a whole book about the AdMech in the Heresy series. I'll have to try and.
Is it called Mechanicum?
Yeah. And it's all about like. That one's about like the formation of the Dark Mechanicum and like the release of like AI on Mars. Ooh. And like because Mars goes traitor in the Heresy.
I did watch a video about that. It's interesting, and it was in exchange for exclusive rights to the STCs. Are they called STCs?
Yeah, and Horus promised them like forbidden ones that the Emperor wouldn't let them have.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Deal. Yeah. Sell it.
What do you think of the Dark? What do you think of the Dark?
Oh, yeah. Man, if they made a Dark Mechanicum army, I would totally play that.
Okay.
I love the idea.
Come to Chaos.
If I played Chaos, it would be knights and demons. It would just be like big things running around.
Well, if you like the Hazard Stripes, that's pure Iron Warriors, and that's what they're all about. It's like,
are they Chaos?
Yeah, Iron. So the Iron Hands are the loyalists, but Iron Warriors are all like the Hazard Striped, like grim dark, and like they work with like the Dark Mechanicum. They have all the like demon engines, so like all the Forge Fiends and like the Khorne Lord of Skulls and everything. Like that's usually tied up with like the Iron Warriors.
Okay.
And they hate the Imperial Fist, so they're like they hate Rogel Dorn. So. Rogel Dorn's a bit of a.
I am fascinated by the warp, the idea of the warp. That's a really cool idea, and I don't know of any other sci-fi that uses that. Maybe Star Trek, where thought can become reality. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Traveler.
Like the Deep Space Nine stuff, like the Celestial Temple where the prophets are in Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
That would probably be like the closest I can think of off the top of my head.
But it's very cool. It's interesting. I like it. I like that gods can be created just by, worshiping them.
Yeah.
Very Neil Gaiman,
Yes.
It's cool. That's one of the things I really do like about 40K. When I heard about the warp and how that works. Very interesting. Yeah. I love the extra dimensional travel, like crossing the galaxy by, let's just go into a different dimension. Problem solved. Pop out the other side,
If you can make it.
Try not to die on the journey.
Yeah.
Every ship is the Titanic. Everything is an opportunity to hit an iceberg.
Right. Everything's an iceberg.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess we're getting into the lore conversation already. So, like, would you consider yourself a bit of a lore buff with 40K, or?
No, but I do love seeing nods to other sci-fi that I love in 40K. You're right about like the AdMech and Dune, like the kind of the similarities. In fact, the even the I hear your cat.
Sorry.
That's all right. The Skitarii kind of look like Fremen, with their breathers and the cloaks. In fact, I thought about painting them to look like Fremen, but I was like, I'm just going to stick with 40K lore. But I think
that would be super cool.
Yeah, like if they just had like I don't know, like the glowing blue eyes and like a desert camo scheme or something like that, I would love science fiction, and I've read a lot, watched a lot, but 40K is one where it's still a bit of a mystery. Like I'm still learning, and I mostly learn from other people, like chatting in Discord and talking to you guys. Like it's like, why is this way, or who are these people? I'm trying to paint this. Tell me their story. Like what should I know about these people before I start painting them? So yeah, it's there's so much lore. Like there's so many books, and I haven't read any of them yet. So I'll start with the AdMech, I guess.
Well, and there's so much that, like you said, draws on other lore, and like Frank Herbert's book, like beyond just Dune, like a lot of Frank Herbert's writing influenced, I think, a lot of the early 40K lore. So like a lot of the like kind of nuts and bolts of it, like even like the whole Dark Age of technology is very similar to like the Butlerian Jihad.
Yes. Yeah.
But even like the idea of like hive cities, like and hive planets comes from Frank Herbert's books, and a lot of the like kind of like existential threats to humanity and that like desire to just be alone in the universe very much mirrors like Frank Herbert's works. Right. So like there's a lot of like, clearly they a few of the people who started writing it were big fans of that like classic sci-fi. And
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be writing sci-fi, you've probably already read a bunch of sci-fi.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard not to borrow some of those ideas, especially with AI. I mean, there's a lot of sci-fi where, AI takes over and then humanity has to fight the AI, like Mass Effect.
How are you enjoying living on the precipice of that?
Yeah. Considering you were talking about the book that was from 1909 and he predicted it, so who's not saying the books now are predicting?
That's right. Yeah. It's well, in that story, it does not have a happy ending.
Oh, no.
The machine stops is the title of the story. So it's these people who are completely dependent on technology. They have no idea how any of it works anymore. Everything is automated. And the instruction manual has now become basically like the Bible. No one really understands it. They just quote passages from it, but they don't know what they're saying. And then one day the machine just starts to break down and people just kind of live with it. It's like, oh, the machine it can't make this kind of food anymore. Or my lights aren't working properly, or I can't communicate with these people. Like things just start getting worse and worse, and people are just living with it, breaking down, because no one can do anything about it. And then one day, it just shuts down. Like, and humanity is like thrown into chaos. It's everybody's been living in their own little self-contained pods. They're all frail and weak, and they're just like at the end of the story, they're like crawling out of this underground network. Like it's like a hive underground, and they emerge on the surface, and that's the end of the story. It's crazy.
My. I'm guessing there's no sequel.
I guess not. I don't know.
The machine begins again.
Yeah, the machine restarts. Yeah. Someone tripped over the power cable. It's all good now.
It's like the South Park episode where like the internet shuts down and everyone, like the whole world's just like, what?
Yeah.
And it's just because like it got unplugged.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. It's if the internet did shut down, we'd be in some serious trouble.
So what are some of your favorites from I guess favorite sci-fi novels in general? Doesn't have to be a classic one. But...
Ooh, that's toughy. I actually like movies better than the books, although I will often read the books just to see what I missed. But like Philip K. Dick, he's the author of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I don't know if you've ever read that. Blade Runner. So Blade Runner is based off of a terrible novel. I thought it was terrible, but the movie is great. They fixed
the original or the remake.
Both are great. Yeah. Okay. But the original Blade Runner, it's I find it better than the book. There were a lot of things in the book that were just like didn't really need to include this. Well, everybody wears lead underwear. Number one. It's like, because they don't want to go sterile, so they have lead-lined underwear. And it's like, all right, I guess that's interesting. But also, everybody is addicted to this online network. I think this predates internet when it was written. But this person imagined a network where people could connect their minds and play games, or, you know, be in a virtual world online, like as a networked hive mind. So people all around the world are addicted to this, and they use it to escape reality. It's kind of like Ready Player One, actually, where, you know, but it's pre-internet, where he just imagined this happening. Like, what would you do if your world was total crap? You know, it's after the post-nuclear Holocaust, and humanity's trying to rebuild. People escape into a virtual world. So, again,
and now it's someone kind closer to Black Mirror and reality.
Yeah, exactly. It's neat, but yeah, Blade Runner. I love hard sci-fi, like things that could be real. I do love Ready Player One. I love The Martian, like Andy Weir. I've read most of Andy Weir's stuff. He always consults NASA when he's writing things. Like, could this really happen? Is this possible? Which I really appreciate. So when you're reading, you're like, wow, this sounds really plausible. And well, it's because it is. Like, he's done his research. But it's like far-flung future. I love Dune. I have read that one many times. I haven't read any of the sequels yet.
I was about to say, have you read the rest of them?
No.
Because they get real weird fast.
I heard. It's like, but I don't want to taint the first one. Yeah, the first one is fantastic. And if you're going really far into the future, 20,000 or 40,000 years in the future, you can pretty much do whatever you want. It's like, you know, technology can be advanced to the point where you can't explain it to someone who's, you know, that far in the past. Like, how could you explain warp travel? You know, right now we can maybe theorize about ways it could possibly be done, but we can't do it, and we can't do it in the foreseeable future. Like, it's thousands of years away. They anticipate, like, it's not something that's going to be achievable in, you know, our lifetime. But if you're that far in the future, it's like, well, all kinds of things could have happened by then. I mean, if you're looking at the rate of progressive technology right now, it's advancing so fast. I mean,
yeah, think about like what it was like 20 years ago. Like, watching movies from the 90s and no one's got a cell phone or anything like that.
Yeah, and
20 years is not that far off.
Yeah, and I'm blanking again. Who wrote I, Robot?
Isaac
Asimov. Yeah, that's right. I was listening to a lecture by him, and he said we're now at a point where every 30 years, the world will be unrecognizable. So if you could go 30 years in the future, you wouldn't recognize the world anymore. It'd be so vastly different from the world you're in right now. It's true. Like 30 years from now, like 2050, what's the world going to look like? You know, 2080. Like, things are just moving so quickly.
I'm sure at that time the rate of that will be even faster. It'll be 15 than 10.
Exactly. For sure.
Year by year.
Yeah.
But even like year by year, things are so different.
So 40,000 years in the future. Yeah. Giant mechs.
It's only war.
Yeah. Gods are real. Sure. That's possible.
Yeah, just think about it. You think it's real.
That's right. Like, who knows what could be possible? Yeah. So,
Well, and it's almost like 40K is kind of like the opposite message from Dune. Like Dune is really the story, if you read all 6 of them, of like what happens if humanity gets to space and there's nothing. There's no other life. And it's just endless humanity. And like, how do you survive with endless resources and also be like a dynamic and thriving culture and society? And like, that's actually the fundamental like message of Dune is like, what do you do with infinite nothingness?
Yeah.
As like a species. Whereas 40K is like, what do you do when absolutely everything is trying to kill you constantly? So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. We met aliens and we hate them. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. It's true. It's I don't know what's more terrifying. I forget the quote, but like, that the universe is, filled with life, or that, we're all alone. So, yeah, I think it's like, I don't know what's more terrifying, that humanity is not alone in the universe, or that we are. So, yeah, I guess that they explore the two sides of it. It's interesting that, like, you rarely see a sci-fi where you meet the aliens and it's like you just get along. It's like, oh, more intelligent life. Let's be friends.
I mean, Star Trek's probably the closest you get to that, where it's like aliens are
but they already
nice.
established a system by then.
Yeah. I suppose if you have like competing species that are expanding into a galaxy, they're going to have their territories, and it's like, well, we claimed this, we were here first, and it's like, well, we need these resources. It's I don't know what would be more likely. Yeah.
I think that being alone is more terrifying.
I think so.
We just kept going, and there just was nothing.
And just absolute nothingness. That is terrifying.
And then it's like, well, why? Like, how do you existentially deal with that concept of like, it's just us.
Yeah, we are alone.
Yeah.
Right?
This little blue marble next to the sun.
I know. That's why I feel like, some people are against the idea of terraforming Mars, for instance, which is, again, very far in the future. But I'm like, well, why not? There's nothing living there. What would be wrong with something living there? In my mind, it's I got into a big argument with my astronomy professor about terraforming Mars, and we were yelling at each other in class, and it's like, why wouldn't you terraform Mars? And he was so against it. He's like, we have to leave it the way it is. It's like, we can't corrupt that planet like we've corrupted the Earth. I'm like, there's nothing there. It's a big dead rock. Better, a corrupted Mars than, a dead Mars. Come on.
I'm sure one of the billionaires or trillionaires will get there one day.
Oh, someday.
It's gonna be the war to Mars. Like, who's the first one who can get there?
Yeah, I think there'll be a race to get there first, but then after that, they'll be like, well, that was expensive and unproductive.
What's next? Jupiter?
Yeah, let's go home.
Let's go watch Netflix.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I would be very happy if there was a manned mission to Mars in our lifetime.
Would you go?
No.
Oh.
I would watch the videos. I get sick on a roller coaster. I'm not going into space. Yeah. But yeah, walking another world would be pretty amazing. Walking around like this is not Earth, like, and looking in the sky and seeing the Earth, that would be incredible. But yeah, I'd just be barfing the whole time. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be on the ship with me. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be over here puking if anyone needs me. Yeah. What's your job on a ship? I don't have one. I just sit in the corner and rock back and forth and vomit once in a while. Yeah. But when I was a kid, they said they'd be on Mars by 1999. Yeah, the Americans said we'll be on Mars by 1999, and I couldn't wait. And then it came and went, and no one's there.
You're like, hey, wait a minute.
And I think, like, there was that Mars one, that hokey, they're going to make a reality TV show about going to Mars. And they're supposed to go by 2000, I don't remember what it was, maybe 2006 or something, or
Yeah.
or something like that. It was no, maybe 2016, whatever. Anyway, they were going to make a reality TV show about sending people to Mars. That never happened. It's like, there's no way that's going to work.
Yeah.
And
we've barely been back to the moon, so.
Yeah. The moon is hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
You can get there in 3 days. It takes like 3 to 6 months to get to Mars, and you're crammed in a little tiny spaceship with a bunch of other people. Yeah. I don't know. It's scary. Very scary.
But we'll see you in 2050.
Yeah, 2050. We'll be there by 2050. Yeah.
Well, this got pretty existential.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's great.
Yeah. I think another reason I love AdMech is because of Mars. Always been fascinated by Mars. You know, even as a kid, looking at National Geographic magazines where they sent the first pictures back, you know, from Pathfinder. I just remember staring at it for hours. Like, I can't believe these pictures were taken on another planet. It was just amazing. So,
do you look for Mars in the sky?
Oh yeah, I always see Mars in the sky. Yeah, I can point it out to you anytime. It's I always know where it is. Yeah, yeah. Actually, Mars and Venus were very bright this summer, especially Venus. I don't know if Venus was particularly close this summer, but it was super bright.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
So, really geeking out here.
Sorry, if you let me talk, I will just keep going and going.
We love it.
Wow, that actually, talking about geeking out, I did want to ask because I know you and your wife are both pretty nerdy people. So what are some of your favorite things to kind of geek out together on?
Ooh, cosplay.
Ooh.
We will plan cosplays together. So let's see. What did we do? What's the first one we did? I think the first one might have been Kung Fury. Like, she went as Barbariana, and I was Kung Fury. She always does a cosplay of some kind, and I don't know. I feel like I'm getting too old for cosplay, but I am doing a cosplay this year at HalCon. But I'm wearing a mask, so no one can tell how old I am.
I'm gonna tap on everyone's shoulder. Mike.
Look for a guy with a minigun. That'll be me. Yeah. So. We played a lot of Payday, like Payday 2.
Okay.
I've never played it before. It's like a 4-player
I've seen the
co-op.
like they wear the masks and
they wear clown masks and they rob banks and armored cars. Yeah. So every heist movie that's ever been made is a mission in this game.
Cool.
John Wick is in the game. It's every character you can imagine from any kind of like shooting movie is in the game, and you can just play that character. So I don't know how they got the rights to all these people, but anyway.
Don't question it. Just
it's
accept.
Yeah. So a bunch of us are going to be wearing bulletproof vests and suits, a suit and tie with a bulletproof vest and a gun and a clown mask.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I don't know if Brenna's going to go along with it. I think she has another idea for her cosplay, but we'll see.
You could do like different for each day kind of thing.
Yeah.
Have you been to HalCon?
Many times. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I went to I don't know if it was the first one. They used to have it in the Royal, the Lord Nelson Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
They had it in the lobby. They had a lobby and one room and the bar. And that's where HalCon was. Yeah, it was like 1,000 people.
And you've been at the new convention center? Yes.
Yeah, we were there last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe the year before? No, just last year. Last year was our first one.
They were, but it was the COVID year. So it was kind of limited and yeah.
That's where we got COVID. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We made it all the way through the pandemic without getting COVID. And we're like, you know what? Let's go back to Halifax and let's go to HalCon. And we both got COVID.
Oh, the con flu.
Oh my, yeah. But now we can't possibly get it again, right? So
I just got over it for the second time. So
yeah. Was it worse the second time?
Or the same? It wasn't. I feel like the lingeringness of it, like I still don't feel 100%.
Oh.
That didn't change, but the severity of actually having it was way less.
Okay, so, that's good. Yeah, we were just we were miserable. You know, it was just 10 days of laying around and like eating ice cream and watching YouTube videos. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, the horror.
Yes. We had a lot of fun, actually. Despite the pain, it was a lot of fun. Because we were just like chilling on the couch, eating junk food, regret-free. It's like, no, we're sick. We can eat whatever we want. So, yeah.
We're stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. We were watching 16-hour YouTube videos. Well, sorry,
wow.
It's like 8-hour videos back to back. Like, we watched Neebs Gaming.
Oh,
it's a bunch of,
amazing.
Do you watch that?
Blood God watches them more, but I'm very familiar with them. Yeah, they do like, Ark and they...
Yeah, like 5 guys that are in their 40s, so my age. So I get all their references. And they just play video games. And they'll post these 8-hour supercuts. And I think we watched like, I don't know, 10 of them. Over the course of COVID, we just kept watching their 8-hour supercuts.
And they're hilarious. And they kind of make like a story arc.
Yeah.
And
they started off as comedians. They were trying to get their own comedy show.
Really?
And I've seen some of their sketches.
I thought they were in the army together and they were friends.
I don't think so.
Some of them are part of,
I mean, they may have been.
But they're super funny.
They tried comedy. They won some competition where they got to do their own comedy special on the Comedy Network or whatever it was back then. And it never went anywhere. They made like one show. And that was it. Yeah. They're like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just play video games. Yeah. So, yeah.
And
that's
they're
it.
doing quite
That's
well for
do.
themselves.
They just play video games all day, every day. Yeah. Living the dream. Yeah.
Do you play games with your wife?
Oh, yeah. She plays Warhammer. Yeah.
Oh.
She plays this Adeptus Sororitas.
Wow.
Yeah. As soon as she found out there was an all-female army, she's like, I'm in.
Sold.
Count me in.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did she build and paint the army?
She built a lot of them, but I've been painting them. I won't let her paint them.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, I need these for YouTube. Yeah. No, she is going to paint a bunch of them, but we were planning on going to LVO, Las Vegas Open, and we were going to do the doubles. So we needed 1,000 points of 2 different armies. So I was like, I need to paint our 2 armies for LVO. And I don't know if we're still going to go. Probably not. We'll probably just go to a tournament in Canada somewhere. But that was the original plan. That's why I've been painting her army. Yeah, but she's getting some practice in. She has painted a few, and she's been using the airbrush. So yeah, I'll probably just pass them on to her. Say you finish them. Yeah.
I will say that the Celestine you did is one of those images I show people that don't play Warhammer as though like this is what it can look like. It's absolutely gorgeous. So
thanks. Yeah, it's a cool model. I think it's more about the sculpt, like the person who created that sculpture. Yeah, the people who create those, man, I don't know how they do it. But yeah, their design team is pretty awesome. So
yeah, it portrays like such elegance, and the silhouette of it is striking.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
do you have a favorite model really cool that you've painted?
Favorite model? Oh, man. I don't know. Oh, Belisarius Call. Yeah, I hated painting him. But now that he's done, I love him. And I never use him. He's terrible. He's a lousy leader. But every once in a while, I'll just put him on the table so people can look at him. Then I put him back on the shelf.
Why'd you hate him?
I hated painting him. He has so many tentacles. It's just, arms everywhere. Tentacles and like screens and skulls. And it's like, oh my God. Just, tentacles for days. Yeah. He's got a weapon called the Mechadendrite, where it's just, Mechadendrite hive or swarm or something like that. And yeah, it's just tentacles everywhere. So, yeah. It's terrifying to look at. I don't know what you're
saying. I like tentacles, so.
Oh, they look cool. Yeah, but he was a nightmare to paint. Yeah. I don't like models where I have to do sub-assembly, but yeah, him. Oh, and also that big knight. Was that what's the giant, the biggest knight that's out right now?
Warlord
Starts
Titan?
with a C.
Oh.
Is it Castellan? Castellan Knight? Is that a thing?
Probably.
Yeah. Anyway,
That
the
sounds
most
right.
expensive knight in the knight's army. I painted that thing, and I like it. Yeah.
Was it mostly
So-
airbrush?
Yes, it was. Man, the knights are so big. Like, there's so much surface area to cover. Yeah, if you don't use an airbrush, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. So. I guess you can use makeup brushes. That's my new thing. I get a big makeup brush and I just slather the paint on. Like that base coat is just going to be a big makeup brush.
Yeah. I've been getting into stippling with a big makeup brush.
Yes.
I love
Stippling,
that.
dry brushing, and sponging. Like, man, you can do a really good job really fast with those. Yeah.
Yeah. The small pointed brushes I'm not too fond of. I like the big brushes, and
Yes, absolutely.
it creates a lot more detail.
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Do you have like a dream project or model you'd love to do?
I would love to do a diorama sometime. And that's what I was planning for LVO. I didn't know how I was going to make the sisters in AdMech into a diorama. I had no idea. I was still in the planning stages. But I would love to do, like a large diorama using N-scale miniatures. So like the new Legion Imperialis, is that what it's called?
They're really tiny?
Yeah, but aren't those to scale with the knights? Because when you look at the knight's cockpit, there's no way someone could fit in there. But with the new little tiny Marines, they are the right scale for the knights. So I saw a diorama once where it was this ancient knight. Picture like the year 100K. Years after, humanity has exhausted all its resources and the earth has kind of healed itself and plants have overgrown everything. And humanity's gone back to like an agrarian society. So it's just farming and small villages, almost like a medieval society again. But then there's the wreckage of all these old machines that no one knows what they did. I saw someone create a diorama of that where it's inside of a cave and the mech is rusty and parts are falling off. And it's all these little N-scale miniatures from like train sets, like these little tiny people. And they have all the scaffolding built up to the knight where they're kind of like taking parts off, to build farm equipment and stuff. I thought that was really cool. I was like, I would love to make like a diorama of like an old rusted out mech, on some, it doesn't have to be Earth. It could just be some like forgotten
Mars.
planet. Could be Mars. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that would be a cool idea. That's something I always want to do, but it would be very expensive. It's like, do I want to buy a knight and then just chop it into pieces and make it rusty? I don't know.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Someday. Maybe someone will commission me for it, and then I'll get to do it. Yeah.
Just put like an ad out there. Any broken knights, I'll take off your hands.
Here's the diorama I want to build. Who wants to pay for it?
Yeah. Find someone who's smashed a knight.
Yeah.
Just sweep it up. I'll take it in a Ziploc bag.
I mean, Playon likes to do those narrative things. Maybe you need to combine forces and...
Oh, man. That's a dream right there. To get on their show, like play a game with one of them. Yeah. I keep harassing Tack to start playing the AdMech again. But I don't pay them on Patreon, so he doesn't really listen to me. Yeah.
Oh, no.
More AdMech. Always in the comments. Yeah.
Everyone's going to be going to the channel now, trying to find your comments.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see how much influence we can have.
Maybe other people can comment to Tack.
Join in on your Bring Back the AdMech.
Yes. We should get everybody in the Discord channel to go on there and make an AdMech comment. Just get like just spam listening. The channel with AdMech. More AdMech. Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to chat about for the folks at home before we wrap up?
I don't know. Like it's I'm really enjoying this hobby now. Like it took a while to find the 40K community. Like I think I knew about the community for like 2 years before I finally found Tyler. And did I ever tell you the story of how I found out about the basement wargaming?
No.
Discord community? Okay. Really weird. I was at work. I was in the library, and we'd just gotten a 3D printer. So the librarian is super nerdy. She's in my D&D group. And I was like, can I print off like a giant power generator for my 40K, terrain? I hadn't played 40K. I was just like, I want some cool scenery that I can paint up. So of course she lets me print it off. Some guy came into the library. I've never seen him again. He walked in, he looked at the thing that was being printed. He's like, oh, do you play 40K? I was like, no. I was like, but I'd like to. He's like, oh, well, there's a group in Truro, and there's a guy named Tyler, and he's got a YouTube channel, and he told me the channel. And then he walked out, and I never saw him again.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's like a sci-fi movie. Like
I have no idea who that guy was. Yeah, no one knows who he is. I'm like, do you remember that guy who came in that time? And like, no one remembers him. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go look for that channel. And I made a comment on Tyler's channel, and then he got back to me like 2 months later because he's like, I never read the comments. Sorry. And so anyway. He told me about the Discord channel, and then I joined. It's like, wow. Like, I asked Tyler about that guy. It's like, there's some guy who came in, and he said he knew you, and I described him. He's like, I have no idea who that is, and he's not in our Discord. Like, weird. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. So, mystery
Just
guy.
A mystery guy.
Mystery guy comes in and says, you need to play 40K. Yeah, and then that was it.
It was James Workshop. That's who it was.
Yeah, it could have been. Who knows? Yeah, he didn't have an accent, but he could have been disguising himself. Yeah, so.
Yeah. With his Canadian accent.
So weird. Anyway, I've never seen that guy again. Yeah.
And forever you'll wonder why.
Yeah. Just one of those weird coincidences, right? He just walks in, he sees a power generator being printed on a 3D printer. He looks at me. Do you play Warhammer 40K? I was like,
do you want to?
No, yeah, it's so weird. Anyway,
you want a really expensive hobby?
Yeah, did he open up his trench coat? He's got models hanging.
It's like, I got some plastic here. You might want to.
Do you want to do the hobbying or do you want to do the playing?
Yeah.
I got a little bit of that plastic crap for you.
Yeah. Want some plastic glue?
Oh man, yeah. Crazy.
Love that.
So maybe someday we'll meet again.
Maybe he's listening right now and he'll reach out.
He could be. He could just be creeping. He's not in the Discord channel. He's just got the feelers out.
Yeah.
Looking for 40K player. Looking for wannabe 40K players.
Maybe it was the librarian. She called up the guy like, I know that you like Warhammer 40K. Someone's printing it off right now.
Yeah, there's some weird guy in here printing something. Yeah.
Well, I don't know who that is.
Yeah. Anyway,
there was nobody in this room.
If you're out there, mystery guy, and you're listening to this, come back to my school and tell me who you are. Yeah. So, yep. He set my path in a new direction. Don't even know his name.
Wow.
Well, and for any of the listeners who maybe don't know Watch It Paint It or want to see some of your work, what's the best ways to find you out there?
Just check out the channel. Yeah, Watch It Paint It on YouTube. It's where pretty much everything we do goes. We have Instagram as well. So Ben's got his, I have mine. Very few followers. No one follows us on Instagram. Yeah, but the channel's doing pretty good. I think we're up to 36,000 subscribers last I checked.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And over 500 videos, so there's plenty of things to watch.
Oh, yeah, we just spam YouTube with videos. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most never get watched, but there's been a few good ones. Yeah. And Games Workshop noticed us, which is nice, and Army Painter, and so we've gotten a few sponsorships from them, which is really cool. It's nice when you can, play a very expensive hobby and fund it from sponsorships, which is cool. So I don't use most of the stuff I paint. It usually goes to somebody else, but I use that money to then go buy my army.
It just recycles through.
Yeah. Games Workshop's getting their money out of me for sure. Yeah, it's they send me free stuff, which I then sell and give back to them. So, yeah,
it's good for the economy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just keep the train rolling. Yeah.
Well, I think with that note, anything else from the Snurgs?
No, this was fantastic. I'm sure
Yeah,
we're going
it
to
was
have
a lot
you
of fun.
on again.
I hope so. Yeah, it was a
Absolutely.
lot of fun.
Thank you so much for coming on, and these episodes where we get to chat with somebody else are always very special, and I really appreciate you taking some time, and I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have for sure. Yeah.
We'll have to have you back for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to come back. Yeah. Anytime you want to talk about sci-fi.
We'll put the word out. Mars! There's Mike!
All right.
Well, thank you all for joining us. Don't forget you can subscribe to Chaos Divided, both wherever you're listening from and on Instagram and YouTube at Chaos Divided 40K. And you can find us both on social media at Nurgle_Snurgle and at BlushingNoiseMarine. And until next time, bye-bye.
Ciao.